to want to improve. They're left to solve problems they didn't always create. How many times do we hear in group, well, I grew up in a rough household, my parents were alcoholics, this, that, and the other, and then I just kind of fell in that same cycle of, well, since my parents did that, since my siblings did that, it was just a given that I was going to do that. So they kind of fall into that, which is really a kind of a thought trap, that I can't do any better because nobody else in my family has done any better. A lot of them are living painful lives. I think I've heard some of the saddest stories upstairs about patients who lost jobs, lost relationships, lost kids, lost everything that was valuable to them, and then they're left to do, well, what do I do now? In need of learning new behaviors. This is where we come in. Okay? Even if you're not using DBT, we should still have in that mindset that if you have a person who's really trying to make a change and they're wanting to be different, our job is to teach them how to do that. Okay? Nothing makes me happier in group is when I can get through a whole 50-minute session, if I can get the 50 minutes out of the adult patients, is them actually keeping their worksheets and those actually taking me up on their offer to talk about the worksheets. Okay? That's a victory in my book. They're actually listening. They're actually engaged. They want to do something. So, all right. 3 characteristics of DBT. It is support-oriented. Okay, that just means that your therapy is focused on their strengths. Because a lot of times patients beat themselves up because they already know their weaknesses. They'll tell you every day, all day, if you'll listen, about everything that's going wrong in their lives. So DBT is saying, well, what do you do right? Okay, what are your strengths? And then what you do is you build on those strengths. Oh, well, you're a very good communicator, so let's talk about how do you communicate with the people in your life. Okay? And also it's focused on being non-judgmental, not just with themselves, but with other people. Because a lot of times, using upstairs as an example, is a lot of them don't want to come to group because there's other people that are a little more sicker than them. Okay? So we talk about in group, yes, they might be a little more sick than you are, but that should not keep you from coming to group. How can you encourage them and still be a part of the group? So it's just focused on your strengths and being non-judgmental. Cognitive based. How many of us have done a group on cognitive distortions, negative thoughts, how to turn around negative thoughts? That's what this one is focused on. That's the cognitive base. How do you turn around negative thoughts? Because a lot of them are focused on thoughts, beliefs, assumptions that are really making their lives a lot harder than it has to be. Okay, so this is focused on trying to change that pattern of thought, trying to change that pattern of behavior. Collaborative. This is probably one of my favorites because it's just how do you make the skills stick? You might be giving them worksheets, you might be telling them what they need to do in group, but how do you make it stick? Okay, so the 3 ways that DBT offers is 1, role playing, which I haven't really done as much upstairs, but when I have done it, it's pretty fun. It gets them engaged, gets them a more active role, let them play the role of leader for a minute and kind of act out certain scenarios that might happen in their lives. But mainly I stick to lectures and group and give them homework. Okay, the first couple of times I gave them homework, they looked at me like, we're not in school, why are you giving me the sheet of paper asking me to fill it in? But they did it. I was surprised. Next day, people were reminding me, oh, do you want us to bring our homework? Yes, that's what I said. And they actually wanted to talk about it. I filled it in. This is what, I might not have done it right, but I gave it my best shot, and we'll talk about it in group. That's how you make it stick. You make them want to tell you about how they're going to do it once they get home. This is my plan of action. Some of them get more into homework than just listening to me talk. So I'm like, yes, go ahead, right ahead. Treatment targets. This is just the hierarchy of treatment. Okay. I think pretty much in acute care, this is what we're familiar with anyway, because a lot of times we see people at number 1, that life-threatening behaviors. They come in because they said they're suicidal, maybe they cut their wrist. So these are the issues that you address first. That has to be handled first. When they first come in, do they need to be on one-on-one? Or do they need to be maybe around their peers, or maybe they're not necessarily appropriate right now to come to group. Let's give them a few days. So these are what you're handling first. Don't want them to harm themselves. It's all about safety, the first one. The second one is therapy interfering behaviors. This one was kind of funny to me because it's not just focused on the patient. And I'm guilty of some of these. It's focused on the therapist as well. It's saying, how do we kind of interfere with therapy? And I've kind of had a couple patients that I love what I do, but they just make it hard. So when I would be going around for group and I would say, group time, I pass that window. They keep going. That's not therapy. Interfering behavior, so it's not stop doing that. And I laugh about it now, but we expect patients to be at group on time. We expect them to take their medications, but at the same time, we have to kind of live by the same standards we expect them to do. Got to be a group on time. Got to give everybody an opportunity to come to group, even if they get on your last nerve. You have to learn to practice what you preach, and I think that's a very important part or aspect of therapy. Because we all know they're interfering behaviors. They won't come to group. They'll sleep all day. They'll have an excuse for every reason why they don't want to be in there. So we can't do the same thing. We got to kind of step up our game as therapists, but if we're expecting them to do it, we got to do it too. All right, quality of the life behaviors focus more on what's going to be going on when they go home. What are they going back to? Do they have somewhere to go to? We have a lot of people who don't have a home. What is their financial situation? We're wanting them to go to therapy, but do they have a way? So this is addressing those kind of issues. And I tell patients, I may not know the answers to all of those questions, but at least I know how to ask and maybe find out. And skill acquisition, probably the hardest one. It's just their willingness to want to learn new skills. Because a lot of times, my favorite thing to tell patients is, you come to group, you're telling me what you think I want to hear, just so I write a nice note so you'll be getting out of here soon. The only person you're doing a disservice to is yourself. Okay, you've got to be wanting to make a change, you've got to be willing to participate in group, and be honest with yourself and everybody else. If not, just keeping it real with them, you'll be back. That's the bottom line, you'll be back. And a lot of times they have to hit rock bottom to realize that maybe I need to do something different. All right, these are the skills, and the way, so I won't confuse you with the slides, I put on one side what it is, and on the second side, the actual worksheets that I do. So what I'm going to do is just kind of talk through some of the worksheets, not all of them. Mindfulness, and I kind of put them in the order that I like. Mindfulness to me is probably the most important. Just teaching patients to be aware, not only of their environment, but also being aware of how they feel internally. Do you know how hard it is to get a patient to say something other than, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, everything's all right, to actually focus on how they're really feeling in some kind of concrete manner? I'm angry. Okay, you're angry. You're entitled to feel angry. What do you plan on doing now that you're angry? Just working from there. Just making them pay attention to what they're doing. Okay? Being okay with feeling and getting in tune with their emotions, but also not necessarily always acting on it. Another part of mindfulness is whatever you're doing, and I'm guilty of this one too, paying attention to what we're doing. How many times have you read something, then had to go back and reread it like 2 or 3 times because you have no idea what you just read? And mindfulness is focused on being present in the here and now. If you're reading, read. If you're watching TV, watch TV. If you're eating, eat. Okay? Just pay attention to the here and now. My favorite line in group is, sometimes we're so focused on the future and we're so focused on what we've done in the past that we miss what's right in front of us. Yeah. So mindfulness is trying to just relearn how to do that. Be focused and present in the moment. All right, some of my favorite mindfulness worksheets, square breathing. I don't need to do a bit of that in right now. I tell you, I love y'all, but public speaking, I'm sitting here shaking. I'm glad y'all can't.
Aww, you're doing great. You're awesome.
You're doing great, yeah.
But square breathing, I do that with relaxation, teaching them just to focus on your breathing. A lot of times when they get upset, they're either holding their breaths or they're huffing and puffing. So this